Imagine watching Inception. If Leonardo DiCaprio ran on a treadmill for 2 hours, waking up, spinning the top, and the top falls over, it's exactly what it's like being a Cowboys fan. Moments of surreal brilliance, followed by an abrupt collapse. Let me break down why they are the most inconsistent team in the NRL currently and what's underneath that wild ride. Before we get into this video, really appreciate the recent support on our latest podcast and all the support on our shorts. I know our uploading has been a little bit inconsistent, but look, it's something we're just trying to do better, I guess. There's not really any way, there's nowhere else to put it. Just be better. If you guys could leave a like and subscribe to us, and if you enjoyed content like this, please follow us on Instagram and TikTok for more sports content. If you had to sum up the Cowboys in one word, I'd say it would be unpredictable. In 2022, they were riding high, finishing third on the ladder with 17 wins, playing confident, structured footy under Todd Payten, and coming within one game of the grand final. We don't talk about this pass. Payten himself even picked up the Dally M Coach of the Year award. For fans, it felt like the start of something special, the foundation of a team that could contend for years. But the very next season, in 2023, reality hit harder than a Jason Taumalolo's shoulder charge. Despite moments of brilliance, they slipped to 11th on the ladder, missing the finals altogether. And yet, even in that disappointing year, they delivered one of the most dominant performances we've ever seen in a 74-0 thrashing against the West Tigers. Which makes this even funnier as they were humbled by the exact same team just a few rounds prior, 66-18. I mean, that's not even inconsistency, that's just a full-blown identity crisis. Then came 2024, where they finished 5th and knocked out the 8th place Newcastle Knights in the elimination final before eventually losing to Cronulla in the semi-final. Just when fans thought this roller coaster was over, 2025 came crashing in when the Cowboys suffered one of their worst defeats in the modern era, losing 58-4 at the hands of the Dolphins. At the back end of the season now, they're sitting below the Tigers and with a negative 106 points differential, and rumours are now starting to swirl around Todd Payten's future at the club. But you see, the Cowboys' problem isn't that they have bad seasons and good seasons. It's that they can't decide which version of themselves they want to be week in and week out. One Friday night, they're dismantling a dominant powerhouse like Penrith with flowing champagne footy. The next, they're spilling possession, missing tackles, and collapsing against a bottom 8th dweller. If the Melbourne Storm are a meticulously crafted Nolan film, the Cowboys are essentially Michael Bay. Explosions, chaos, and zero predictability. If you want to really understand the Cowboys' inconsistency, start by looking at their error count. In 2023, they averaged 10 errors per game in the opening 12 rounds. That was the second worst in the entire competition. For example, against the Dolphins that year in round 6, they racked up 13 handling errors in a game where they ended up losing 32-22. These aren't isolated incidents either. The Cowboys have a knack for turning simple yardage sets into absolute chaos, especially under fatigue. Defensively, the story isn't that much better. At their best, they defend like brick walls, compressing well and sliding as a unit. But at their worst, they leak points faster than I-League after a dodgy Vindaloo. In 2023, they conceded 32 plus points in 6 different games, including that famous 66-18 demolition at the hands of the West Tigers. Inconsistency here doesn't just cost games, it demoralizes the squad. One poor completion set snowballs into broken structures, and before you know it, they've gone from 12-0 to trailing 18-12. I'll let former Juventus defender Giorgio Chiellini explain it best.
The history of the
North Queensland Cowboys.
Essentially, it's a 20-minute masterclass followed by a 20-minute meltdown. At least there's balance. Another big factor that could be plaguing them is player availability. The Cowboys' game plan relies heavily on star power. Jason Taumalolo bursting through the middle, Tom Dearden steering the attack, and Ruben Cotter grinding out the meters. In 2025 alone, missing Taumalolo and Cotter in back-to-back rounds saw the Cowboys go from competitive against Penrith to losing at the hands of a Manly side who wouldn't be able to break down a styrofoam wall with a steel axe. It's not just injuries either. Origin selection often strips them of key players during crucial parts of the season. Without their big guns, the spine lacks direction, their forwards lose punch, and their attacking sets seem to be a little bit robotic. Even a minor injury list can turn them from top 4 contenders into easy beats overnight. You know, I'm starting to really think that John Bateman isn't a good replacement for Helam Lukey. The Cowboys' attacking style is both their greatest strength and their biggest weakness. When it clicks, they're electric. Take 2022, for example. They averaged 18,018 running meters per game, ranking the top of the NRL. And by late 2023, during a 6-game winning streak, they were averaging over 2,000 meters a game. But if you compare that with earlier on in 2023, there was a stark contrast. For example, they were averaging just 16,057 meters per game, while making fewer shifts to the edges, about 19 per match compared to their 26 during their hot streak. Combine that with completing barely 70% of sets, and suddenly the whole attacking structure falls apart. And this isn't necessarily a bad thing. The Cowboys play a high-risk, high-reward brand of footy. It's something we'd love to see in the modern game. I mean, it looks spectacular when it comes off, but when it doesn't, there just doesn't seem to be a plan B. Now, Todd Payten has been both the architect of their instrumental highs and the lightning rod for their lowest of lows. After steering them to a preliminary final in 2022 and winning Dally M Coach of the Year, expectations skyrocketed. But since then, his relationship with the team and the media felt volatile, broken, mismanaged. Payten is passionate, there's no doubt about that. I mean, his halftime sprays are now part of the Cowboys' folklore. But there's got to be a limit to his passion. Recently, Payten has also clashed publicly with referees and has had doubts on the decisions they've made during the match, even copping a final warning from the NRL for post-match criticism. While fiery leadership can motivate, it can also create instability. Players can start playing tight, fearing mistakes rather than trusting their instincts. And when results swing wildly, well, that's when the tension builds, inevitably feeding back into the inconsistency. Payten's tactical noir is unquestionable, there's no doubt about that. But the Cowboys' body language often suggests a team riding emotional highs and lows rather than steadying themselves week to week. For years, the Cowboys' identity revolved around Jonathan Thurston, a generational leader who set standards on and off the field and will most likely become an immortal in the next few years or so. But since his retirement, they've struggled to lock down a stable leadership core. They've alternated between captains of Chad Townsend, Jason Taumalolo, and Ruben Cotter in recent seasons. And while each player brings their strengths to that role, the constant shuffle hasn't helped cohesion. In those real crunch moments, they sometimes lack that one authoritative voice to calm the group and to dictate tempo. Add to that the external noise. Roster cleanouts in 2023, speculation around Payten's future at the club, and persistent media pressure in North Queensland. It creates a sense of uneasiness around the club. For a team already prone to emotional swings, instability at the top trickles down to the very field that they play. When leadership is consistent, players trust the process. When it isn't, panic sets in faster after one or two errors, and then performances spiral. Breathtaking when everything clicks, but half the time you're sitting there wondering, what the fuck just happened? One week they're putting 74 points on the Tigers, an all-you-can-eat buffet of offloads, line breaks, and tackle busts, with silky Tom Dearden cutouts and amazing acrobatic putdowns by their wingers. And the next day, they look like they've never played with each other in their entire lives. And like I said earlier in this video, that is not a form slump. That is a full-blown identity crisis. Now, there's always going to be a potential solution out there. And while I don't necessarily hold the key, I have an idea of what I think the Cowboys need to do to get back on track. First, clean up the fucking error count. Early knock-ons and poor set completions constantly put them behind the 8 ball. And I cannot stress this enough. You cannot build momentum when you are making 400 tackles a game. Secondly, keep their spine and big meter readers on the park at the same time. When Taumalolo, Cotter, Dearden, Nanai, and Purdue all play, the Cowboys' general running meters shoots from 1,600 per game to over 2,000, a stat that directly correlates with their wins. Thirdly, it's the defense. Defensively, they need a structure that does not crumble when fatigue sets in. Right now, they can hold off Penrith for 60 minutes, then concede 3 tries in 5 minutes, like someone unplugged their PlayStation controller. And finally, it's the leadership. The constant shuffle of captains and Payten's shifting tactics fuels the emotional rollercoaster rather than steadying the ship. Now, if they can blend their natural attacking flair with week-to-week discipline, the Cowboys have all the tools to turn highlight reels into premiership runs. Until then, they will be the Tinder dates of the NRL. Promising profiles, exciting first impressions, and occasionally ghosting on you when you need them the most. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, drop a comment, and follow us on all our social media platforms. Until then, this is Lux saying, see ya.